Hello and welcome to episode number 14 of Hombre in Sheep's Clothing. This is a knitting, spinning, yarny podcast. My name is Jimmy and I'm coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. And today we're going to be talking about some finished objects that I have, some that I kind of showed you last time but weren't quite finished, some new finished objects, some works in progress. I'm also going to be talking about some yarn acquisitions from the recent Brooklyn yarn crawl that happened at the end of last month in April. And also it was the same day as the local yarn shop day. The first thing I'm going to be showing you today is the shawl that I showed you last time that was almost finished. I just needed to block it. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it because I did in the last episode, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like blocked. And the shawl is the girl's best friend, designed by Isabel Kramer. And here it is. That's what it looks like now that it's blocked. I did add the pom-poms. I have not cut the ends of the pom-poms yet because I'm lazy and I'm not gonna wear it. So I'm gonna do it in a little bit. But anyway, so this is what it looks like blocked. And that's what it's going to look like. I don't have enough space to show you the whole thing on me. But yeah, it came out pretty big. It doesn't curl anymore. I was concerned last time I did say that I was a little bit concerned about the edges, the border here, because I thought it would curl a little bit, but after blocking it, it doesn't really seem to be curling that much. So yeah, I'm okay with the result. Really quickly, I used some Madeleine Tosh for this color. I think this color is Madeleine Tosh Merino Light, something like that. It's 100% merino singles in the Dubrovnik colorway. And then this turquoisey looking one is also the same base, 100% merino singles in the New York Aquarium colorway. And the last one is a Malabrigo singles Mechita in there. It's one of a kind, so it doesn't really have a colorway name, I don't think, at least not yet. That's what a girl's best friend looks like, finished and blocked. So I just wanted to show you that I had blocked it, and now it's going to go into storage. The next work in progress that I have is the hat that I was working on. It's called 2x2, and the design is done by Angie. I think it's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's finished. It looks pretty long because it has a brim that you fold. Haven't really blocked it yet, but it is finished. This is what it looks like. And it's a nice winter hat, especially now that the summer is coming, but whatever. So for this one, I'm using some chili knits. I'm using the brim is done in the gondola colorway, and the body, or like the hat itself, is done in the Gaudi colorway. This is her nylon merino blend, 75% merino, 25% nylon. It's the cuddly sock base that she has. And I held the yarns together with some mohair. So there is some shibui silk cloud, which is like a silk and merino blend in the brim, and some neighborhood fiber company mohair that I used for the rest of the hat. And yeah, so this is also finished. I haven't really blocked it, but I don't block hats that much. I just wash them when I need to. So I haven't cut the ends of these ones either, because I'm just lazy like that. No, I usually, I don't know, I usually don't cut the ends until I block something. So, and this is what I have left over from the Gaudi. And that's my second finished object. The next finished object that I have, I think I mentioned last time, yes, in the last episode I mentioned that I have two sisters, and the two of them have birthdays in May. So I was going to knit them Tenya by Caitlin Hunter in linen, which that's what I've been working on this past month. And I have finished one, which is going to be given away tomorrow. Tomorrow's Mother's Day here in the US. And I'm going to go see my sister and my mom, and I'm going to give her the top that I made for my sister tomorrow. This is the Tenya. The interesting part of the Tenya is, of course, the lace on the hem of the sweater. And it's a bottom-up sweater. You start from the lace part and you knit up. Then you separate the front and the back. You knit the back. You make some short rows and shoulder shaping. Then you pick up the front and you do the same thing and shape the collar. This is a rolled collar. It has a dropped shoulder and really short sleeves, and the sleeves don't have any particular thing of interest. This was interesting to knit. I did my swatch with a different color because I had the linen that I'm using is, I think I told you last time, it's Sparrow from Quince & Co. They're 100% linen. This is the Eclipse colorway, which is kind of like a dark gray, almost black. Looks kind of black. Last year I made some stuff for my sisters, and I had a little bit of leftover linen, so I did my swatch on this color. I did get gauge on this swatch, but then I started knitting this, and when I was about, like 10 inches in, I kept looking at it and I thought, this top is meant to be a boxy, so it has a lot of positive ease. So my idea was to to put like 8 inches of positive ease on this top for my sister. So it was like I was planning on doing it really wide. When I was knitting this about 10 inches in, I looked at it and it looked too big. I took it off the needles and I measured how wide it was, and it was 4 inches bigger than I intended it to be. So I, even though I did do the swatch, I think that because I hate swatching, I must have done this tighter than I did this, right? Like once I was working on this, I relaxed and the stitches got bigger. So I had to undo it. I had to undo the whole thing and start again because I thought that 8 inches of positive ease was already kind of like, wide enough. So 4 more inches was going to be too much. And I also didn't think that I had enough yarn to finish this, so I decided to undo it. And I guess I was kind of right. I did not have enough yarn to do this, because when I finished the second sleeve, I used 6 skeins of the linen, and I had bought 7. I used 6 full skeins, and then I started a second one, and I had half the skein left when I finished the whole thing. So I was right. I wouldn't have been able to finish the whole thing without undoing it. So I undid it and I measured my gauge again, and I realized that I could go down 1 full size with the same needles, just go down 1 full size, and that would have given me the size that I was looking for, which it did. Tenya number 1 is done, and it's being given away tomorrow. Working with linen, I like the result. I love the drape and the way it feels, and it's very summery, which is kind of what I wanted. It's very cool, and it has, I don't know if it sounds like weird, but it does have a cooling effect, right? Even as I was working on this, it would drape over my legs as I was knitting, and having that on my legs, it would cool my legs down a little bit. So it does have a nice cooling effect. I like the result, but working with linen is how can you say it? It's a challenge working with linen. That's the word. Because, well, let's see if I can show you. Usually, when you work with this is like merino and nylon, right? And usually, when you work with like wools, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see, but there is a stretch, right? There is elasticity to wool, right? And you can see my fingers, like there is like I pull and there's a response, right? And it bounces back. With linen, I'm pulling, and there is no bounce back. There is no stretch, or bounce or spring back, right? So there is no elasticity with linen. It can be really rough on your hands. Like my joints would get a lot more tired. My wrists would get tired. My elbows would get tired, which doesn't really happen to me when I'm working with wool, unless I've been knitting for a long time. And this lace section, there are times where you have knit 4 together. That was a little bit painful, to be honest. I struggled a little bit with the knit 4 togethers, and because there is no elasticity, right? So trying to go with your needle through 4 really rigid stitches is a pain in the butt. And I had to do this. I had to do this panel twice because, like I said, it's a bottom up. And when I realized I had screwed up, I had to undo the whole thing from the very beginning. So I had to do this lace panel twice for this top. And then I guess we're going to move on to works in progress. And then I had to do it again because I said I would do this. I would do this top twice, one for each of my sisters. So I had to do it again. Hopefully this time I don't have to rip back and start again because I would die. I am so ready to go back to working with wool. But anyway, so yeah, so I had to do this again for the Tenya number 2, and this is how far I've gotten. So I'm very happy and very relieved that I'm done with the lace panels. They are very pretty, as you can see. You can see better on the other. This is what the lace panels look like unblocked. Blocked. So blocking does make a difference. So I'm very relieved that I'm done with the knit forward together bit, and I am very hopeful that I don't have to rip back and do it again. I think that I got the gauge right this time. So this is Tanya number 2 for my other sister. My other sister has her birthday later this month, towards the end. I am going to see them this weekend. I'm not going to finish this to give it to her this weekend, but I'm hopeful that the following weekend I will, because her birthday falls during the week. So hopefully I will have this finished by next week, and sadly you probably will not get to see this finished by the next time I record, but I will show you a picture of what it looked like finished. I did the body of this sweater in US 3s, which is the needle size that the pattern calls for. So that's what I worked the body, and then I did the neckband, the collar, the rolled collar on US 2s, and also the edging of the sleeves on US 2s. And it has kind of a ribbing on the edge, which, I mean, for linen it doesn't really, I just did it because the pattern calls for it, but linen ribbon doesn't make a difference because it doesn't have elasticity, so it doesn't really pull things in or anything. So yeah, this is also 100% linen. Quince & Co., their Sparrow is the name for their linen, their fingering weight linen, and the color is Juniper. That's what I've been working on very diligently for the last month, and in my head I had planned that this would be finished by this weekend, so I could just give it to my sister on Mother's Day, but that didn't happen because I had to undo the other one. So that means I've only been working on Tenyas on linen for the last month, and I am so tired. Other than the Tenyas that I've worked on has been the Moral Magic sweater that I was working on. I showed you last time I had finished the body, which I did, and I was working on the edge on the hem at the bottom. So I finished the hem, right? That's a mess. Strings. I finished the hem. I finished the collar. It's a rolled collar, right? And I have picked up the, I guess, the sleeves, the cuffs on the sleeves, but I'm tall, so these are going to be really long cuffs, right? So that they can come down to my wrist. But that's all I've done, really. I mean, it hasn't really progressed that much. Right? I just finished the hem, which I was already working on last time you saw me. I finished the collar, and I did have a cuff. And that's all. That's all I did. That's all I've done. A work in progress, believe it or not, months later. Marl Magic sweater, but by Stephen West. So I'm using lots of like leftovers, so I wouldn't be able to name them all, to be honest. That's all the knitting content that I have for today. The rest of what I'm going to show you is things that I've gotten in the last month, and talk a little bit about the Brooklyn Yarn Crawl and the local yarn store, the local yarn store day that happened at the end of April. I'm sure you know about the local yarn store day. That's something that I don't really know who started doing that, but typically, at least I would think, at least in the U.S., and because it's in the northern hemisphere, April is one of the slowest months for yarn stores. So I think that they wanted to do something to promote going to your yarn store and supporting them. And so I went to, I guess you've heard me talk about Knitty City. Knitty City is a store that is in the Upper West Side in Manhattan, and that's where I go to knit. They have a guys knit night on Wednesday nights, and that's where I go and knit every Wednesday, and I wanted to go and support them. And also that very same day there was Joe from What the Flock, who's an indie dyer. He was doing a trunk show, so I wanted to take the chance to go and get some of his yarns. So that's what I did. Let me show you. Joe from What the Flock, he has he's been doing this kind of like Disney, like princesses and villains inspired colorways, and I wanted to go and get some of the yarns, and this is his Cruella de Vil from the 101 Dalmatians, and it's that devil woman, and so I got 2 skeins of this. Actually, I did not buy these. My roommate asked me to buy these for him, and I will make him something later on. Also, I got this for me because these are my favorite colors. And this is called A Whole New World. Right? I like the pun. A Whole New World. Because I like spinning, and I've actually never seen Aladdin, but I know that it is inspired by Aladdin, and I think it's inspired by the flying carpet scene, I think. These are 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. These are 2-ply. So I wouldn't use these for socks, because I think that for socks you want to, well, you can use whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I think in socks it is preferable to use something that has 3 or more plies, because the more plies that you have in your yarn, the stronger it is, right? The more if you have more plies, that just means that if one of the plies breaks, you still have two or more plies that are still going to hold the strand together, right? If you're using a single strand, well, if the yarn breaks, the yarn breaks, and usually a single strand will break more readily than not. And if you use 2 strands, then you only have one little other strand helping you. And anyway, I'm sure you didn't need a lecture on plies, right? But what the flock. And that's what I got from Nitty City. Then after Nitty City, I jumped on the train and I went down to Brooklyn, because that same weekend there was the Brooklyn Yarn Crawl, and I wanted to visit a couple of the stores that I like. There are 4 yarn stores in Brooklyn that were participating in the Brooklyn Yarn Store. Argyle Yarn Shop, Brooklyn General, Woolen, and String Thing Studio. I've been to all 4 of them. I like all 4 of them, but Argyle and Brooklyn General are a little bit more difficult for me to get to, and String Thing and Woolen are relatively easier for me to get to. So that's what I did. I went to String Thing Studio first, and I grabbed a tote bag for the New York City Yarn Crawl tote bag for the spring edition. And actually, which I thought that was kind of nice, that each of the stores that you visit would give you a pin to put on your bag, right? So clearly I'm missing the 2 stores that I didn't go to. And I got the special edition pin for the Brooklyn Yarn Crawl. I don't remember what her name is, but that's the special edition pin. At a String Thing, there was a trunk show by the Golden Pearls. I don't know if you can see that, which is an indie dyer duo, mom and daughter, and the Golden Girls is the inspiration for their company, and like Sophia and Dorothy, and I like, surprise, I like the Golden Girls. And so I wanted to get a skein of their yarn. This one is called Wake Up and Smell the Coffee, You Fossil. And they usually, I don't know, they might always use quotes from the show, I'm not sure. But this one is. And yeah. So this is a 100% superwash merino. And I wanted something neutral, because I never get anything neutral. I always go for like weird bright colors or blues. But so that's what I got there. Like I said, I also got the tote bag, and I got the pin from String Thing. And then I went to Woolen. They had a Murky Depths trunk show, and Murky Depths is Debbie, and I know Debbie. She's also a local indie dyer here in New York City. Local, right? She actually lives really close to Knitty City, so I see her a lot at Knitty City because when I'm knitting there, she's often she's there hanging out with the knitting ladies at Knitty City. So so she's a good friend, and I was very excited to go and support her for her trunk show, and I got this color that was exclusive to the trunk show at Woolen, and it's called Wouldn't It Be Loverly? Oh jeez. And this is also 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and I love it. And also Woolen is the store where I took my first lessons on spinning, so I learned to spin there, and every time I go there I like to buy some spinning fiber because I do. And so this is what I got. This is Polworth, 100% Polworth. It's about 4 ounces, and that's the colorway is called Laurel Ridge, and that's what I got at the Brooklyn Yarn Crawl. Also, at String Thing Studio, at the beginning of April, there was a trunk show again by Murky Depths, Debbie, who's the owner of Murky Depths. And at that trunk show, I got some mohair, and some blue mohair, because if you remember, last episode I showed you some yarn that I had won at one of the knit nights at String Thing Studio, and it's this Lewis's No Bully Blues for his Hat Not Hate campaign. So I'm going to do a hat with this and this held together, this mohair, and this is really luxurious. This is like a merino cashmere nylon, merino cashmere silk blend. So this is really luxurious by the Knitting Wolf Luxury Yarns in Canada, and he dyes this color exclusively for Lewis's website. And I'm going to knit a hat with these two, and that's going to be my Hat Not Hate contribution for myself. That's not the one I'm going to knit, one or two to give away, but this one is going to be for me. I'm not giving this away to anybody. Sorry, just not happening. Also, oh god, this is like the acquisitions edition. I don't know if you follow. I'm sure that you all do follow Amy from the Stranded Dye Works and the Stranded podcast. She recently she started watching RuPaul's Drag Race, and she got inspired to do some Drag Race colors. She is donating some of the proceeds from those colorways. I think like to she's in England, she's in the UK, so £2 her skein that she sells, she's donating them to her local LGBTQ organization that helps with counseling and things like that to LGBTQ teens, I think. I found that very touching and very inspiring, so I wanted to help. When I was a teenager, I used to go to one of these organizations as a support group, and I think when I was a teenager, I was too into myself, and I didn't realize, like, it was just a safe space, right? As a teenager, it was just a safe space. Now as an adult, I realized the importance of these type of organizations, and I was glad that I was able to contribute, even in a small part, right, to Amy's initiative, and I was very moved that she saw an LGBT show, and that she got inspired, and that within her inspiration she thought to reach out to her own community where she lives and help them in some way that she could. Those are the skeins that I got. It's a superwash merino nylon blend, and it's called Reading is Fundamental, which I love because it also is the quote is inspired by this documentary called Paris is Burning, which is about the ballroom culture in the 80s in New York City, and I did not get to experience that, but I did get to experience the tail end of that culture for teenagers who couldn't get into bars or clubs because they were too young, and they would get to go and hang out by the Christopher Street piers and stuff like that. So anyway, so I got a couple of skeins from Amy, and this is what they look like. So, and lastly, what I'm going to show you is it goes into acquisitions, but it is a little bit of like future knitting. I don't know if you've been following me enough to remember last year I knitted my friend Connie from Chili Knits. Chili Knits is the one who dyes the Gaudi color that I used for my hat that I showed you earlier. So last year I knitted a sweater for Connie. It was a Caitlin Hunter Zweig sweater. And this year I'm going to knit her a different sweater. I'm going to knit her a sweater called Gaudi. In the fall of last year, there was an event in Barcelona called Barcelona Knits, and Julie Knits in Paris, who's a French knitwear designer, and Connie collaborated together. Connie dyed some yarn that came out to be this colorway, and Julie designed a sweater using those yarns. And she designed something, a colorwork sweater that was inspired by like Gaudi's architecture and Gaudi's colors at the Güell Park in Barcelona, and also La Sagrada Familia Cathedral. So I'm going to be knitting that sweater, and I'm going to be using Connie's wools, right? And this is 100% merino, and I think it's called Nube. This is 100% merino fingering, and the colorway is Who. which I'm guessing it's referencing Doctor Who. It's kind of like a purpley bluish color, and I'm using the Gaudi for the yoke, the color work yoke, and this one has a little bit of stellina in it. I don't know if you can see the shine, the glitter. So this one has a little bit of stellina in that. So the stellina is going to be on the yoke. And she also sent me, because Connie's nice and generous like that, she sent me a couple of her Nube skeins. I want to design a shawl for me that I've been playing around with ideas in my head, and I want to use these colors for that shawl. I don't know, I don't know when that's going to happen, but I'm hoping that it is going to happen sometime this summer. And the colors, this one is Gondola, which is the same color that I used for the brim of my hat. Right, this is the Gondola, and this one is called Charisma, which is kind of like a peachy, corally color. And so that's future knitting. Actually, the future knitting is the sweater for Connie. That's my next project. I am going to finish my Marl Magic sweater. I'm going to finish the second cuff, and I'm going to be done with that. And I'm also going to start knitting Connie's Gaudi sweater. So next time you see me, I should already be working on that. So and yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming back every time, and feel free to follow me on Instagram at JonBoyNY, or feel free to contact me on Ravelry for anything. The same handle, JonBoyNY on Ravelry. And until next time, have a good day, have a wonderful spring, and happy knitting, everyone. Bye.